Yep.
Okay. Welcome to the Omziel Healing Sanctuary. We're giving you bite-sized information for you to take in your daily life. So I'm here with a great brother and friend as always. I met him, wow, I think we met in the street fair, and he does some
Yeah.
wonderful and interesting things. So I'll just allow him to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he's doing.
What's up, y'all? I'm Michael Delana. I'm with Omar. I think we met around 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had started running my business, Mubians, and I'm also Plant Dad. Plant Dad is the product version or the plant version, the earthy version of Mubians, which focuses on bringing well-being to the forefront of interior design through biophilic design, plants, nature. It doesn't even have to be plants like you see on the table, but it could be views of nature, moss walls, even stone washes like this work wonders reducing stress and anxiety. And I think the reason why me and Omar connected is because we both have that healing goal at the end of the day, and also thinking about our communities and who we want to reach. We want to help people, we want to bring healing into the home and make it a part of everyday practice. So incorporating such into design and our everyday functionality of life is super important to me, and I'm just happy to be here
I
chatting it up.
appreciate you. Thank
Yeah.
you. So you're in Jersey City here, right?
This is Union
Union
City.
City. That's
Yeah,
right. That's
it's
right.
just maybe 10 minutes from Jersey City up
Right,
north.
right, right. And
Yep.
I see that you're working with the plants, and you mentioned something before,
Mubians.
Mobians. Tell
Hmm.
us a little bit about that.
So Mubians is like my less like I guess facing interior design company. So Mubians is like the basis of everything. It's like my umbrella company if you think about it. And really where it has started was in this very apartment. So the things that you're seeing behind us, it was during the pandemic. I had a really tough time. I used to have a dog of 14 years. Shout out to Cardi. May
Mm,
she rest in
mm,
peace. All dogs
mm,
go to heaven,
mm,
I suppose. And so I realized that I just had never really been lonely, never felt those feelings, like never had to deal with it.
mm,
I guess since I had the dog, it was easy not to feel lonely. And I
mhm,
didn't ever realize it because I had the dog since I was a young age.
mhm,
And just living in New York, I was having like so many different problems. I was having like health issues, work sucked. Like
mm,
I've
mm,
never experienced so much stress in my life. I didn't even know it was possible. And to think that people live like that every day, I just needed to figure out how to solve it. So I started doing research in different ways to like cure stress, pain manage, all this different stuff. And everywhere like I turned at the end of the day when it came to chemicals in the brain, how your body releases melatonin, endorphins, all this different stuff,
mm,
it really led back to our environments and where we house ourselves from like a regular perspective.
mm,
So
mm,
the idea of nature, the idea of cool grays, greens, blues, all of that different stuff impacts our brain, how our eyes and our nose process scent, how our eyes process sights
mm,
and colors, how our olfactory works, how our hippocampus works
mm,
to release different chemicals is all impacted by the things that we see.
mm,
Even the idea of nature like changes our fight or flight receptive. Like people think like, oh, you're so calm, blah, blah, blah.
mm,
I'm like, I am calm
mhm, mhm.
sometimes,
Right, right.
but
Mhm,
it's different things that are based within nature. Like in here, you see a lot of circles, you see a lot of abstract stuff,
mhm,
you see a lot of plants or even resemblance of plants in nature
mhm,
throughout this space. But that also changes my fight or flight reaction. It's
mm,
like I
mm,
naturally feel comfortable or I'm naturally more receptive to stuff
mm,
because what's around me, even just views of like curvy linear shapes and circles and
mhm.
stuff, changes the way that people respond. It gives them a 57% more likely response at the most basic level just to say yes.
Okay,
At
okay.
the most basic level.
And then you also have incorporated more plant life, and you're doing these other
Hmm.
events. So tell us about that.
Okay, so Plant Dad, the funny thing is, Plant Dad was kind of what my friends used to call me.
Mm,
And I just took it. It was like a common thing, but I just kind of took it because I wanted to provide a product in home that if people weren't going to go for services, which I try to make sure they're affordable and reasonable so that everyone has this access, because I think often as either men, people of color, people who are not as artistic, we decide that, my home looks like this because I'm not stylish, or I don't have a eye for color, or I'm not good with like measurements sometimes. And we accept that. We accept the place as like, oh, a place where I just eat and lay down or eat and watch TV. But it's
Mm.
so much more than that. It should be an enriching place where when you come back to, you get something out of it. So the idea of plants actually started, and I was always planning on upcycling bottles, reducing and reusing. But when I did that, it kind of didn't work out how I wanted it to, because the bottles are kind of heavy. So the transport and the sustainability portion was cut. So I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna make stuff for the olfactory, because the olfactory, its connection with our brain, can trigger immediate impacts in our body. So it can lower your systolic blood pressure just by smelling one scent. Your pupils can dilate immediately, which is beneficial for many people in different ways. So I was going to make ceramics and make candles. I was like going to get back on the potter wheel after like maybe 15 years, and I had bought all this clay and stuff to make ceramics.
Mm.
I get to the potter's wheel and I throw one thing and I accidentally make a bowl instead of a candle. And I said, okay, this is fine. I'm just gonna now make a candle because I made a bowl. And then I tried to make it and it flopped everywhere, and then it turned into paste, and then my hands were like a monster's hands of globs of clay. And I packed up shop and said, never mind. And then the next day, I was looking at the clay and I put it in one of my bottles and I made a terrarium. And I was trying to figure out, like, I had keep sourcing plants that I thought like low light, blah, 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 easy to care for. And ones that I especially like, things that clean the environment, things that look nice with like certain patterns or colors or shapes to them. Because of course, like the curvy linear and stuff like that. So after I put one in a bottle, I looked at it for a while and I was like, you know what? I like this. People deserve to have it. It brings me joy. It smells fresh. It smells like nature. If you don't have anything else, crack open one of these bottles, give it a smell, and it smells just like a rainforest.
Right.
And then watching it grow is like so easy, and it just brings something to the place. It's like 30-minute views of nature, like have so many health benefits to humans, even like the pain management feature and aspect. There have been studies in Harvard and Michigan and stuff like that that show like patients that were in a hospital room facing a brick wall versus patients that had a view of like outdoor natures. The people who had the brick wall reported higher stress levels, higher pain levels. They scarred worse, they healed slower, and overall just had a bad time in the room, which is interesting in itself because, as you know, all the frequencies, all the waves, all the vibrational energy that we put out in the world. So I try not to sound like so far-fetched or so big ideaed when I talk about it, but it's more than just like the plants in a bottle. It's more than that.
Yeah, I think, Mike, like some of the misconceptions that people would think and see some of the things you do, be like, oh, he's just selling plants. And I try to tell them, no, he's just not selling plants, especially like the terrariums, for instance. Like I have YouTube some of these things, and it could be quite elaborate. And what I must say about the terrariums that you do, they are, man, you like stepped up your game. Like with this one, bro, they are beautiful looking. And then you put those nice cork balls on the top and other features that you put inside. So where did that all come about, creating on the creation part?
So it's funny because it's hard for me sometimes to think of myself as like an artist because it's like an artist, and like I'm sure you experience the same thing, like as you step into different talents and different areas and even use some of the things that you have been doing in new ways. It's just kind of hard to think of myself sometimes like that. But I was literally in the studio last week and I was just like kind of following my heart, like just doing stuff that felt right. And I realized that, sometimes I feel a certain type of way about a plant
Mm.
or about like a bottle or something that I get, or like maybe I'll find like this elaborate vase or something like that at a store
Mm.
or at one of the pop-ups, like from a vendor,
Mm.
and I'll feel some type of way about it. But I never realized that those feelings will come out when I create, or how I feel like, oh, this
Mm.
plant's like a little bit more precious, or maybe it's a standalone. So even when I first like started doing the bottles, it started with, you guys can't see it, but that globe over there,
Mm.
I've had that for like 5 years. And it's just kind of sat on my desk, and I just kind of look at it. Sometimes I play around with it, rearrange it, add some stuff, remove sometimes some
Mhm.
things don't make it. But the
Mhm.
two
Mhm.
cactus in there
Mhm.
have been in there for forever.
Mm.
And I have always been into plants and like into like doing different things with them, but I always get frustrated because I think that people use the idea of beauty like not being lasting, or like the idea that plants die, to
Mm.
just
Mhm.
kind of create some stuff that looks cute for a little bit,
Mm.
but then like the plants don't go together. It's like I look at people's arrangements and I'm like, that's gonna die, that's gonna die, that's gonna die,
Mm.
that's gonna live. So at the end of this, they're gonna have two plants, and then at the end of it, they're just gonna need to separate it,
Mm.
which is nice. But I also try to create stuff that go together,
Mm.
that live together,
Mm.
that will
Mm.
stay together harmoniously. And really, I don't go to create landscapes or scenes. It's not supposed to be a fairy garden, a
Mm.
mushroom garden, a
Right,
gnome
right,
garden,
right, right.
or like a pretend hiking forest. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen those.
It's really supposed to be like the ode to the plant. And
Mm.
I'm such a like propagation fiend. It's like all the plants that you can give to people and receive from
Mm.
people, and then like reading the different stories about like heirloom plants, like even this trade scantia. I don't say the real name in this house because it's inappropriate,
Mm.
but the story about them, and you usually see them in a pink and green
Mm.
kind of variety with stripes going up
Yes.
them. And the story about them is that a lot of Jewish people who were forced out of their home would break them because they break so easily. And
Mm.
I'll just
Mm. Mm.
show,
Mm. Mm.
because this is like
Mm.
one of my favorite plants, but they
Mm.
break so easily. So they would
Mm.
just take them, and then they would go on their, I guess, pilgrimage to wherever they were being forced to.
Mhm.
And this would be one of the new plants that they would take to their home,
Wow,
because
that's beautiful.
although they break easily, they're pretty hardy. And what I'll do is I'll just root this and I'll give it to you later to make it
Yeah,
easy, because
appreciate
they root like
that.
crazy.
Thank
But
you.
it's just like hearing those stories. And even this is my dad's pothos. It's like I found
Mm.
this in his living room, like all wilted crazy. It's over there
Mhm.
too,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's been in this jar, and I was like kind of worried about it
Mhm.
because I had broke the roots when I put it in. I usually don't put any plants in jars that aren't rooted, because they don't, their success rate goes way up if they already have roots.
Okay.
So I ended up putting that in the museum, and I was like, if it stays and it lives,
Mm.
that's great. But if it dies, it's also a part of what they'll see in the museum.
Mm.
Things die, and I
Mhm.
get it.
Right, right.
But it's like the intention is to make it live. And the fact that this bad boy rooted so well, like while I was in the museum, the moss kind of grew and it has like new growth and stuff,
Mhm.
makes it that much more special to me. But it's also like, how far can I take this?
Mm.
I'm sure people have like family members who pass, or like family members that they really care about, who have plants or are a plant person, or that monstera that's been in grandma's living room, or
Mm.
that birds of paradise that's actually a part of growing up, or a part of our story
Right,
growing up,
right,
that we don't even realize.
right,
So
right.
it's just kind of been a combination of all those ideas
Mm.
that kind of pushed me further in the direction.
Mm.
And
Mm.
really, I have like some big ideas,
Mhm.
but it's like the idea of a conservatory or a arboretum or a greenhouse that is like for visitation. There's like something about it that is missing that I don't want to say too much about, but the plants being potted and it not being wall to wall ceiling to ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unusual to me. I don't know why no one has ever took it there, but that's where I'm growing to with these bottles. That's where I'm getting to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the idea of the bottles and the glass will always be a thing for our non-green thumb people to appreciate something
Right.
and to know that it's going to grow, to know that it's going to survive with little care and little maintenance.
Right.
To get a lot out of it for a little reward, because that's how humans work.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Right.
if the more we get out of something and the less we do to feel like we receive that, for some reason, the more we value it.
Right. I have seen a number of these on the Instagram, for instance, and they're absolutely beautiful. So you have the cork right there, right, that keeps in the moisture, but it's not like a metal top or a plastic,
Yeah.
So it's almost breathing as well. Yeah. Is that the concept?
That is definitely the concept. And then I also think that with the circle, you can either slam it on to like really seal it or like kind of place it and I can kind of see the air ring around it. But the cork is going to like form to the shape. So when it's really tightly on, you'll have a circle around your ball from sealing it off. But it's like, even the shape of it, the circle, the spear
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Even visually, just looking at them, they just seem futuristic and spacious and so like just comfortably looking just with the circle.
Yep. And it's kind of funny because even like how I work with the plants, I'm so conscious of everything being zero waste, reducing and reusing. I can't tell you how many composts I have. Those plants over there that got trapped in the car during impoundment, all withered, those are going to be compost. Like I try not to waste anything. And even when it comes to the plants that go in bottles, I try not to clip them or distort them to make them fit. If they fit, they go inside. If they don't, they don't. Like, and that's how it goes. And I propagate and clip my own plants so you could see some on the walls and stuff. And maybe eventually they'll go in the bottles, but some of them are already growing. They don't fit, so I'm not going to clip them and make them fit. And I think the ease of it all kind of reflects in them. The circle shapes, the way the glass is curved, the idea of it representing like harmony, unity, wholeness, completeness,
For
growth.
sure. For sure.
All of that stuff.
Definitely we live in a world with too much plastic and metal, so I do strongly believe that humans are not supposed to be spending long periods of times in these environments of brick and cement and asphalt and rubber, things of that nature, and all these chemicals, not to say. So just reusing that is like a huge thing that I do want people to know about what you're doing and how we should do that. Because we live in this throwaway world. You just take things and just throw them away.
And I also think, hopefully it doesn't ever happen, but I know one day it will happen. One of these bottles is going to die. And then it's like, okay, even if we don't have the plant, what do we have left? It's not just a plant pot that you can only do just that with. Now you have a bottle, you have a little jar that you can put stuff in. You can use it for other things. It could be multi-purpose. It's not that the plant is gone, so now I have no use for this. It could be a vase later. It could be a toy for the dog or a toy for the kid, the little spear on top of it.
Right.
So there's the way of like reusing, but it's also funny because I sometimes try to be like the sustainability champ, but then I get into circles like yours and I'm curious for you, what's the pressure like or how is it? Because I see people taking sustainability to a new world. Even when we were doing the
Sweat Lodge.
Yep. When we were doing the Sweat Lodge and we were pouring the Sweat Lodge and then afterwards, there was just so many things that sometimes I don't think about that I feel like healers like you, people who are really in tune with the earth and really doing research on how people used to live back in the day, how they used to do ancient traditions, how you respect the earth. What's it like for you? Because I feel pressured, but then it's like, I feel like you have a different way of thinking about things that does it make it easier? Does it make it more natural?
I think it's just different you tend to start living a more life that's harmonious with your environment and
Mm-hmm.
everything that you do. It's very mindful. It's a mindful living. So I'm from Brooklyn, and where I come from, you just do things out in the street. That's it. But as you start moving along in this life, you start taking care of your temple.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start with that, you're like, hey, my environment as well. And then you start to learn about the ancient ways. How did they used to do it? They used to work in harmony with the environment, the rain, the wind, the earth. Like, okay, I'm here in the forest. Like, oh, this is a nice plant. Let me just take it and take it out. No, respect, ask,
Mm-hmm.
and then whatever you do take, you lay down a little bit of tobacco. This is just traditions and what you do, and out of respect, for your environment. Because the actuality is that after humans are long gone, the planet will still be here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're ambassadors
Absolutely.
of the planet. That's true. It's our birthright to be here and to take care of this place where we're at.
Oh, absolutely. And I think some of that intentionality of just, asking first, even if everyone doesn't believe in the tradition of asking Mother Earth or Mother Nature
Mhm.
to provide for us, it's even that intentionality of taking a second to slow down, which has been one of my biggest lessons lately. Taking a second to slow down and think before you do something gives us a better clarity and intentionality. Rather, it's how we go about taking this plant,
Mhm.
how we remove it, how we clip it, rather we dig it up, or rather we decide to keep it there instead because maybe actually we don't need this plant.
Right, for
Yep.
sure, for sure.
And the funny part about that,
Mm.
this plant is actually from Colombia. It's
Mm.
from Comunidad 13.
Mm.
And it was one of the first accessible neighborhoods in Colombia after they removed the cartel and stuff like that.
Mm.
They have built an escalator that goes up the mountain. So it's basically like a thriving commercial and living area that's just amazingly beautiful with
Wow.
art and local culture,
Mm.
artisans selling stuff, booths selling stuff, like stores actually
Mhm.
built in, and people can use the escalator, and it's like built in multiple tiers that
Mm.
go around the
Amazing.
mountains,
Mm.
so people can actually get through who have like disabilities or impairments or elderly and stuff like that. And I found I wanted to take one of these clippings so bad, and I just couldn't figure out how I should do it, and I end up finding like a broken off piece like laying on the floor, and I like
Mm.
scoop it up, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, we'll see if it makes
All
it.
right.
And it's made it. It's been rocking with me since. I think that was about a year and a half ago, 2 years
Wow,
ago.
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I think that humans should think more like that. Like, how can we reuse this? We don't have to throw it away and just, God knows only what dumb places where people dumb things look at. Like, there
Absolutely.
must be mountains and mountains of things that
Mm-hmm.
people are just throwing away. And then with the whole COVID thing where people are just ordering online, and
Oh my
Amazon has
goodness.
got more money than God. Like, it's just, you're just
Yeah.
ordering things. Things are just coming
Oh
into the
yeah.
house. Before you had to take the time, walk to the place or get in the car, find parking, get gas, get in
Mm-hmm.
line. You're like, oh, forget it. Now it's like one click and it shows up in your house like the same day as if they made it like up the block.
And I'm like, who's delivering this stuff and how many
Mhm.
packages do they have? Like, is the
Right,
car full like it should be, or are you really just delivering my next
right.
day? Because I decided I needed this tomorrow.
Yep, yep.
And then they try like different stuff. And I think it's
Mm.
even amazing now because like fighting to exit that culture is a challenge. So before I started my business, I was like, Amazon cold turkey. I was like, no Amazon. I would probably Amazon once or twice a year, and that would really be to get the stuff that I couldn't, that I
Mhm.
didn't want to have to carry. Now that I have the vehicle, it's a little bit easier, but that I didn't want to have to carry blocks up the street or take the train on or
Mhm.
whatever. And I remember back in the day, it was like my dad was like such a thrift shopper, but it was like if you couldn't find it in regular stores or if it was something oblong, like we would always just go to the thrift store.
Mhm.
There wasn't like an Amazon. It's like, oh, I need like, I don't know, an outlet timer. And
Mhm.
outlet
Mhm.
timers are a little out of date. So there
Mhm.
would be a thrift store with the like electronic bins
Right.
that you could go in, and you would find some sort of outlet timer. It might not be the new fancy ones. So sometimes it would have a dial, multiple dials with the
but it
week.
works.
Yeah,
Right?
it would do the job. So it's like, even fighting to exit that culture, I find myself back in it because it's like, Amazon, I need some new utensils. I can't find my shears. Go to the garden center and I only have a few options because Amazon got it all. It's like the online Walmart of the world.
Yep.
And I remember when people used to boycott, and I'm not saying boycott Walmart, not saying that, but I remember when people thought stores like that were dangerous to us as beings, dangerous to the economy, dangerous for all these different reasons that people were thinking about. But now it's almost like the convenience is too good for us to care anymore. But it's like, I wonder, like, what is Amazon doing to the environment? What is all this packaging material and stuff like that doing to the
or some of the product that you get into your home? I'll contact customer service and I'll be like, it doesn't work. I don't like it. I want to return it. They say, you know what? Keep it and we'll send you the money back. Keep it and send you the money anyway. That was unheard of when I was coming up. Like, you bought it, it was yours, bro. If it broke or whatever.
Wayfair did that to me once, and I was like, now I have 2 chairs.
Yeah, right. It's
And
like,
it's like
how could that be? We should be more self-sustaining and recycling things that we can. I remember I saw a great documentary called The Garbage King. I think it was something like that, where he was recycling materials even for building, and the building itself that he made kept it warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And he had this whole bicycle where that would help to generate some more energy that you needed. He was collecting the rainwater. Like, it just went on and on. So he started shopping these buildings to these communities and governments, saying, we can do this. Look how we do it.
Look how it's done.
And it's helping the planet. And they shut him down, like in every corner that he moved to, you know. And then they told him, listen, stop saying that. Say it's going to create more jobs. And that's what he did. And then it started growing more like that. But I'm telling you, bottles in the wall, clay, dirt on the wall itself, everything. It was just absolutely beautiful.
I kind of laughed and I told my mom, I was like, wow, if people knew how much stuff was recycled by my company, I wonder would they value it as much.
Right.
Because I literally have to stop myself from doing some things because I feel like people's perceptions wouldn't be the best of it. So, like, even in my mind, there's like this little moss ball that I want to create. But the inside of that moss ball is really a pint of paint that I've already used up with some plastic waste and some tape waste from taping stuff out, kind of all jammed in there, and it's a little heavy, and that would really be the center of the ball. But I have not done it because I would hate for someone to feel like they received garbage when it's not really garbage. Garbage is an arbitrary word that we really made up for things that we consider to be useless.
Right.
So it's sometimes like a battle for me or a pull for me because I really don't know how far or which direction to take it. But the reduce and reuse is like so ingrained in me that I can't help it. Like, from being a little kid, like, even like having a dad who came from Africa, came from Nigeria, who has like the value or the idea of value that doesn't get lost on something just being 10 to 20 years old and it's still having useful life until it no longer fulfills any function whatsoever. So having that idea just really propels me, but also makes me look at the world differently and how we source stuff. Even the idea that we would have 2 chairs and throw one out, and the only thing is like the chair's leg is wobbly or something. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we deserve what we pay for, or what we try to get, or what we decide to pay for or provide for ourselves. It should fit the use and meet the need. But when it doesn't, does it just end up out on the corner?
Right.
So
right,
that's
right,
that's
right.
stuff that I struggle with all the time, and I can't tell you how many things I've tried to repurpose and it just didn't work out.
Right.
And then it ended up recycling, or scraps of it ended up around, and other scraps of it
Right,
ended
right.
up in compost, and other scraps ended up in the landfill. But even like that makes it one third of the damage I would have done naturally by just getting rid of everything and just putting it on the curb.
Right. We do need to try. We do. But I have to tell you that I've had these ideas, this one in particular, where there should be a location where everyone brings things that they don't need anymore, but it's
Hmm.
obviously of still good use. The table's leg is just broken, but you could still use the other leg. You could still use the top. Like there's so
Yep.
many uses for like screws and rivets, and like there's so many that we're just throwing away. There should be a place where people can go, and if you leave it there, and then if you needed something,
Hmm.
just go and
Yep.
just look through and say, I need that, and just take it.
In the studio, we have a scrap bin, and I'm always in the scrap bin. And I notice the scrap bin changes, so I'm not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of crazy because you mentioned this, and I just was like, I hate to be like Instagram, but I was on Instagram and I followed the guy who asks people on the street, "Can I see your how much do you pay for rent in New York City? And can I see your apartment?" So
Right,
then they
I've seen
take them to
this.
the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the guys, just this normal guy, had really designed his place. It was beautiful, had like all the design aesthetics that I look for, like nature, curvy, linear stuff, arcs, wood,
Nice.
ambient lighting, all of the warm lighting, the dark. So it was like perfect. So I just had to write the guy because I was just curious. He said that he reclaimed his sink from recycled material, recycled concrete that was from like a building site, and the place cut it to his specifications, and he installed it. So I'm like, and it was a raw edge. You can tell that it was like some part of foundation that broke, but it was beautiful. So I just had to write him and ask him, where did he go? Like, where did he go and get it? He's like, sent me all of the information. And now I have a reclaimed concrete place that I can work with. But it's really
Wow.
interesting because we wouldn't know about these places. Like, I would never know that this place just exists across the river in New York if I never asked
Right,
him.
right.
And
Yep,
where do you
right.
go to find
Yep,
these
you would have
avenues?
never.
It's
Nope.
almost like you have to be a conservationist
Yeah.
or a
Yes.
sustainability guru in order to know that these things exist, that not only do they exist, but they can exist in a way that works for us, that we can incorporate it in our day-to-day life.
Definitely, definitely, and that's one of the purposes for this thing that I'm doing here.
Hmm.
I'm bringing information to the masses, people who are looking and say, "Hey, what are they talking about? Like this world is getting noisy," but you have to start being selective in some of the information that you're choosing. We're not just talking about the new, Jordans that came out, or the new
Hmm.
watch. We're talking about spirituality and self-sustainability and small businesses, and like it just goes on. Like how can it better your life? That's what these videos are about.
Oh yeah, and it's like through conversations like this, that's where we go to learn about stuff. It's like
That's right.
the stuff that I've learned in the past year just by like chatting it up about it, or even getting confirmation. Some things we do work for us, or we notice like, or I notice it works for the plants. The plants like it, so I love it.
Right.
And I never really thought twice about it. Sometimes having these conversations like either affirm, deny, like help me out understanding, oh, like this is the right thing, or I
Right.
can even take it a step further than what I've been doing. Even like when we think of like the reduce and reusing, like
Right.
now we've like thrown out there that there are places that will like literally help us make
Sure.
the reused look brand new.
Yes, yes. It makes me think of some of the other people we're involved with. It's because Omziel is really an amalgamation of many different small companies and people doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's business, there's physical therapy. We're working with the CrossFit gyms. Like it just goes on and on and on. And how would you know about some of these things? Like you said, what we usually tell people is don't take my word for it, but investigate it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't even believe me. I'm telling you, like look into this information that I'm giving you.
And that's one of the things that I find really cool about you in general. I think you're really good at helping people start the journey to learn. And that's one of the things that I've been really working on and like really like fascinated with. So even the bottles, Like it's someone's journey on starting to learn the idea. There's like so many ideas in it, like the idea of like humidity and plant care, the idea of moisture, even the idea of an enclosed environment, the idea of climate that then happens inside of the bottle. There are so many different things that I try to like take people down because, like you said, it's an amalgamation of many different things that involve healing, wholeness, stability, sustainability,
life care,
yeah.
biohacking, like yes.
So it's like to get people to like start learning for themselves. It's like the most important part of it all.
Right.
It's like once you start getting into like plants and plant care, like you start thinking about stuff differently. I mean, even the idea that you wouldn't pour a bottle of oil into the plant, so why would you pour it down the sink? Like there's certain things that just start to add up as you start to do that research and take that walk.
Right.
And even like, and it's so much, and you can take your own avenues, but by simply being a teacher, it's kind of like we're driving where the learning goes or where the thought process goes. When you do your own learning, you're allowed to learn for yourself for the things that impact you and the things that you're interested in. It's like when I research a plant, it's going to be different from when my neighbor researches a plant.
Right.
My why is different from their why, but if I give them the intent or the flame to like start chasing their why or figure out that they have new whys and ask themselves that and research from it, that's like the best thing that I could ever do.
Yeah. And then you think about the information as well. Like I'm giving you some information. Don't believe me, go look into it yourself. And then once you do, you come back to me and go, hey, you know what, Omar? It's really like this. Look what I found. Like you just taught me something. Now, I'm like, oh, that's great. Then let's do it your way. Let's try that. Let's see what comes out.
And I think we've experienced so many different things together, and especially like to have new experiences. So the first time I did the ice plunge was with you. The first time I did Sweat Lodge was with you. Even like a lot of the things that I've been learning, like, and it's like I'm spiritual. I believe in God. Like there are so many things that I believe in this world because physics, science, all that different stuff, but there's also the intrinsic of like feelings. How do I actually feel? How was my rest like this night? And I think that this world is so complex that there's never enough information that we will have to make everything make sense. For to have an if then scenario, if then is made up. It's a formula that we created to try to better explain stuff, the explainable. And not everything is so if then. As people say, not everything is black and white. There's a spectrum of color in the in between. And I think it's important to realize that as we move forward. So a lot of this stuff like stretches, and that's kind of why I believe in the third eye. I have like this evil eye that I've been wearing with me that I ended up getting from one of the vendors at a pop-up shop like 3 or 4 ago. And I just kind of wear it all the time because it's a reminder to me. And a lot of these things are reminders to me in my everyday life. So some of the practices that we've taken or have done, like even the Sweat Lodge, because the Sweat Lodge is transformative. It was my birthday after we came out of there.
Oh, wow,
Hence the birthday cake that everyone flamed me for.
It, right? Okay.
So it's like all of those things help me remember like after the Sweat Lodge, like I felt special again. And I hadn't felt special in a while. And like certain things, like they help remind me of the different things that I need to be doing. So like, just like when you said, put the tobacco down before you take this plant, it's like that intentionality, that secondary thought that kind of guides me. And, even if I was like still headed to the same path and the same outcome, like maybe my path is slightly different. Maybe it has an arc, maybe it has a curve, maybe it's fast this part and slow this part. And I'm aware of that and I'm okay with it. And I'm able to look deeper into situations and deeper into certain things. And, really just enjoy them for what they are, or shun them for what they are.
Okay.
It's a balance of everything. So it's been really exciting, like, to go through this
Yeah,
spiritual journey, and like
it is.
everything that you bring and everything that you do, like, it's so cool because like that wholeness, that breath allows us to then go research, what is really sticking out to us, what is like our thing, what helps us. Like, it's been for me like sound healing, like the relaxation, like even when you got here I was like Palo Santo and incense and
Right.
like different
Yeah.
scents and stuff like that, and also like the idea of clearing, like letting things go. Like, we have to do more than clear the air. We have to clear ourselves. We have to clear our mind. We have to clear our emotions, and just letting stuff go. It's like I let a lot of stuff go this week.
Right.
And how do I feel? So much better.
Yeah, so much better. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great to move through this world like that. I think it's better. I tried the other side, and it didn't serve me well. And being like this serves me well. That's why I try to help people and let them know, hey, this is what I do, and this will work for me. I'm not saying that this is the right way, and just try it, and get back to me. Let me know. But before we wrap up, can you tell us what is it that you are doing in the coming near future? What's coming up for you? What is it that you have on the plate now?
So there's a few things. So like when I think of what's coming up for me right now, it's like I'm really looking forward to this period of rest that I call it. But I have to find a new way to rest, because I was explaining to somebody, you can rest while doing stuff. And they're like, no, you can't. And I'm like, listening to it, and I'm like, but yes, you can, but also no, you can't. So it's like I'm looking forward to this period of rest, but this period of rest is like borderline reimagining my studio, reimagining like my campaign for everything when it comes to like how do I enact the benefits of everything. Like, what if someone never booked me and never bought a plant? Like, how am I making their life better if they've never interacted with me, never purchased anything, never had any energy exchange, but received energy? And it's like, that's the whole learning portion. That's the whole starting people's journey. So maybe it involves like a blog that documents my story. Maybe it involves, maybe I get like you and finally put something on my YouTube channel. Like, just how do I bring like the sense of education, do my research, and really get it out there to where when people may Google or when they're looking for an outlet, they find it a little bit more simple to create it for themselves. And then I'm also just looking into getting like re-comfortable with my workspace. I feel like where I work, I have a studio in Hoboken, and where I work, it's like kind of uncomfortable for me. It becomes a little bit stressy, and I think throws off my equilibrium, and I think it throws me off when I go to like, say my intent and my purpose and really welcome people into the space. So I'm just kind of working on those one step at a time, but I'm really excited for next year because I've been noticing that there has been opportunity, and I think that there's the ability to take this like much further. The idea is to incorporate it into like everything. And like I said, try not to be too big idea, but I just imagine, what if everywhere we went really had the colors, the shapes, the acoustics, everything that goes with the ambience that we need to be successful in that space or even feel comfortable in that space. I realize that I'm probably the most expressive version of me, and I really say exactly everything it is, even if it is so personal, because I don't look at things as personal anymore. I look at it as a part of life and a part of the things that are flowing through me, because I feel comfortable. I feel at ease. I feel at peace. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be pretty much 100% of the time, unless I'm at the office 9 to 5.
and we just want to bring that to other people too.
And I even bring that to the office. It's like one of the admins on my floor, her plant was all dead after we did an office move. And I like just reassured her, like, just leave it there, put it in some sun, water it anyway, clip it, it'll grow back. We're in the office like a couple weeks ago, and it's like little sprout here, little sprout there, little sprout there. We were like raving and joking all day about like the plant growing back into a real tree.
Wow.
Even the clipping was growing.
Wow.
And it was like, that's the significance. Like, it's a new beginning. It's different. Like, we restart all the time. Plants restart all the time. The rainforest, natural wildfires, even if we did nothing to the climate to jack it up, natural wildfires, everything restores. So it's almost like, I feel like, you know, there's nothing wrong with where I'm at or what I'm doing, but I want to restore. I want to regrow. I want to flourish into something different than what is now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's so much. You have so much knowledge, and thank you for spending time with us, speaking and sharing some of these things. Thank you for seeing me as well, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate
Thank you for always bringing your energy. And I think even like conversations like this keep us focused and keep us on track. The number one thing that I've been saying foreverly is just remembering your why and being able to talk about our whys and sharing our whys and different elements about it just keeps that fire united. And now we can hold each other accountable, like through and through. Like you said, you want to do this. Or I remember us talking about this. I know that you have this portion of your business. Where do you think you can help out with this? Where do you think you can jump in?
Yeah.
And there's a few good people, like including you, that are in like basically my heart and my mind, that I know that when I create something, when I do something, it's not only like how can I involve these people or when can I involve these people, but it's like the excitement that I know that will be brought, or in the healing and the different vibes that will be brought.
Same
just
here.
by
I think of those things a great deal also. I do. But how is it that I can involve you in the plants, like, you know, and stuff like that. I always think like that. That's why if something comes up, I let you and everyone know, like, hey, you know, we're doing this thing, man. Do you think maybe? And let's go, let's do it. And again, thank you so much. And you mentioned also, I want to just last thing about the dreams, like not dreaming too big. And we should dream big. We should dream, because if a dream is not too big for you to even think you can do it, then you're just not playing in the right arena. We need to be thinking like way bigger. When people say, what is about Omziel in the future? Like, I'd say all these things, you know, just, let's do it.
And it's
We're
like,
doing it.
Exactly. And just knowing how to like tell it to the right audience is important, but it's just like, we can only surmount to our wildest dreams. That's our literal cap for ourselves. If we don't feel like we're going to be like Presidente, if we don't think that we're going to have the biggest and the greatest, like, we're limiting ourselves. Like, imagine not accomplishing your dreams to have the biggest and the greatest, and you just have the greatest.
Right. So I'll tell you what, let's start with me and you. Recycling and putting plants everywhere and bringing breath and ice to
bringing ice
like an ice plunge on every street corner.
to the people who need it.
So where can people find you?
So you can find me either in Hoboken, 300 Observer Highway. That's where the Mubian / Plant Dad studio is. You can either find me on Union City, or if you like the internet, at I'm Plant Dad, or at Mubience, like mood and ambience, MOOBIENCE. And you can also find me at mubience.com.
That's great. I want to talk to you some more about that, and we'll get to that too. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. See you next time. Peace.
Have a good one.